Hey there. Today, I want to talk to you about piracy. Hey there. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if it's your first time here. I'm John Hartness, and in addition to being publishing's grumpy uncle, I'm also the founder and publisher of Falstaff Books. We're an independent publisher based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm also a freelance editor and the author of over 40 novel-length works, including Bubba the Monster Hunter, The Black Knight Chronicles, Quincy Harker Demon Hunter, and a pile of other stuff. There's a bunch of them right here behind me. But I keep the whole shooting on cinematic things so it's fuzzy and you can't tell what I've got behind me. I want to make you pay attention to the moneymaker, baby. So today, I want to talk to you about piracy. This became a giant hot issue earlier this week because, oh my God, Oceans of PDF has shut down. Now, as an old fart, I will have to own my ignorance, and I didn't know what Oceans of PDF was. You see, I don't steal books, so I don't know the sites that pirate books. And I only have so much time in my day, so I don't spend much of it patrolling the internet looking for pirated copies of my books, and nor do I spend time looking for pirated copies of my author's books that I publish. If I find out that there are pirated copies out there, I send a DMCA takedown notice, and that's really about all I've got. As a small press, we're not a big enough deal to have big lawyers to sick on people, and most of these sites operate outside the US anyway, so our options are limited. And while I have often felt that for self-published and small press authors, obscurity is a greater threat to your livelihood than piracy, it's still wrong, and it's bullshit. I mean, there's a million ways to get books in an affordable fashion or free. Yes, I know that some douchebag piracy apologist is going to come in the comments and tell me that some countries limit what people can read and that knowledge should be free and that and that I am speaking from a position of technological privilege because I can own an e-reader. Spoiler alert, you do too, because you're watching this on something that can read an ebook. But here's my one response to all of those people. Fix yourself a nice big steaming mug of shut the hell up. I don't care what your situation is. You do not have the right to steal from me. Thank you, the management. Yes, I believe that a lot of things are inalienable rights that people should have free and unlimited access to. And fantasy literature ain't on the list. While I believe that fiction of the vast majority of stripes enriches a life and teaches critical thinking and expands the horizons for people in small communities who may not see a diverse group of people in their everyday life, no one is dying because they cannot afford to read fiction. It's not healthcare, it's not shelter, it's not food, it's not basic education. I do believe that all of those things should be free for all people everywhere. They should have access to enough food to stay alive, to healthcare to take care of their medical issues, and they should have shelter, someplace to stay warm or cool and dry and safe, and they should have clean drinking water. I do not believe that everyone deserves to be able to read How to Sell a Haunted House for free. If you do, then you should stop watching now, because you're not going to like anything I have to say anymore. And feel free to give me a giant thumbs down. Go for it. Vaya con Dios, pendejo. Also, for those of you who stuck around and weren't those dick whistles that just left, I told them to give me a thumbs down because all engagement feeds the algorithm. So negative engagement is as good as positive engagement. But if you want to provide me with some positive engagement and you want to do something awesome for an author that is absolutely free, you can click the like button. You can subscribe to the channel, because that really does help the channel a lot. And usually about 2/3 of the people that watch these videos aren't subscribed. So we're trying to get to 6,000 subs before I go to DragonCon in a month or so. So help us out. But what I wanted to share with y'all mostly today was an absolute boots on the ground example of how piracy does hurt authors. Now, I have never been negatively affected by piracy because I've never had a series that's a big enough deal for people to want to steal. But I'm also almost certainly going to butcher this author's name because I've never met her, so I apologize in advance. But Maggie Stiefvater is a big deal, has sold a boatload of books, and has been directly affected by piracy. And a decade and change ago, she posted a long thread. This was before it was Threads. I don't remember where she posted this the first time, but it comes back around every so often as the piracy discussion rears its ugly head. But she posted this long thread about how piracy came very close to killing one of her series and very negatively affecting her career. So I'm going to read this directly to you, and we'll put the screen caps up here, I don't know, wherever my boss, marketing director, decides to put it. But this is Maggie's own words. I'm just going to read it straight for you. Thus, the old man glasses. I've worn glasses since I was 6, up until I had cataract surgery last year. So I guess I've been an old man since I was 6, and probably there are some people who can confess to that. I've decided to tell you guys a story about piracy. I didn't think I had much to add to the piracy commentary I made yesterday, but after seeing some of the replies to it, I decided it's time for this story. Here are a few things we should get clear before I go on. 1. This is a U.S.-centered discussion, not because I value my non-U.S. readers any less, but because I am published with a U.S. publisher first, who then sells my rights elsewhere. That means that the fate of my books, good or bad, is largely decided on U.S. turf through U.S. sales to readers and libraries. 2. This is not a conversation about whether or not artists deserve to get money for art, or whether or not you think I, in particular, as a flawed human, deserve money. It is only about how piracy affects a book's fate at the publishing house. 3. It is also not a conversation about book prices or publishing costs or what is a fair price for art, though it is worthwhile to remember that every copy of a blockbuster sold means that the publishing house can publish new and niche voices. Publishing can't afford to publish the new and mid-list voices without the James Pattersons selling well. Okay, pause. I'm going to insert something from my real-life experience here to Maggie's stories. This is how lots of art-focused industries work. For example, I spent quite a few years as the resident lighting designer for a small local dance company at a community college here in Charlotte. Yeah, I just totally gave away who it was, but the 5 of you who are here in town who are watching this probably already know me and know that I designed for Central Piedmont Community College's Dance Central for a while. Well, Dance Central, along with practically every dance company in the Western world, produces the Nutcracker every Christmas. Nobody with dance companies who are adults really loves Nutcracker. We've all seen it a million times, and we all are kind of tired of it. I mean, for years, I would shake a little whenever I heard Frickin' Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies on a holiday commercial. Nobody loves Nutcracker except the kids and the kids' parents and maybe whoever's dancing the leads. I don't know. But you know why everybody and their brother does Nutcracker every year? Because it pays for the rest of the season. Dance companies make their annual budget on Nutcracker. Just like retail stores make their year's profits on Black Friday. That's why it's called Black Friday. Because after those sales, the company gets into the black, not in the red. Just like every restaurant in downtown Atlanta makes their entire fourth quarter's money off Dragon Con weekend. I'll be there again this year. If you're there, find me in the app. Come say hello after a panel. Or find me in the Weston Lobby Bar and say hi. Buy me a ginger ale. In a bar, I like my ginger ales with 2 cherries. But everybody does this. All sorts of industries do this. You have your blockbuster, and that pays for the risky stuff. So publishing's no different. James Patterson sells 5 million copies of a book. That means some new mid-list author, potentially, or a debut author, gets a chance. Chuck Tingle hits the New York Times bestseller list. Not only does a debut author get a deal from Tor Nightfire, but quite possibly an LGBTQ plus debut author gets a deal from Tor Nightfire because Chuck has made a bucket of money, and Chuck, spoiler, writes really gay stuff. Also, Chuck Tingle's a national treasure, and if you ever have anything bad to say about Chuck Tingle, do not say it to me. Thank you, the management. Now, let's dive back in to Maggie's story. This story is only about 2 statements that I saw go by. 1, piracy doesn't hurt publishing. And 2, someone who pirates the book was never going to buy it anyway, so it's not a lost sale. That second one is the most common thing I hear spouted. Now, with those statements in mind, here's the story. It's the story of a novel called The Raven King, the 4th installment in a planned 4-book series. All 3 of its predecessors hit the bestseller list. Book 3, however, faltered in strange ways. The print copies sold just as well as before, landing it on the list, but the e-copies dropped precipitously. Now, series are a strange and dangerous thing in publishing. They're usually games of diminishing returns, for logical reasons. Folks buy the first book, like it. Maybe buy the second, lose interest. The number of folks who try the first will always be more than the number of folks who make it to the 3rd or 4th. Sometimes this change in numbers is so extreme that publishers cancel the rest of the series, which you may have experienced as a reader, beginning a series only to have the release date of the next book get pushed off and pushed off again before it merely dies quietly in a corner somewhere by the flies. Back to me. This is why if you tell me I'm not going to buy the first book until the entire series is complete, I'm going to tell you that you're part of the problem in publishing. And I don't care if you show me on the doll where Pat Rothfuss and George R.R. Martin hurt you. I'm still going to tell you that you're part of the problem. because if people stop buying the series, we as publishers will stop producing books in the series. Okay, back to Maggie. So I expected to see a sales drop in book 3, Blue Lily, Lily Blue. But as my readers are historically evenly split across the formats, I expected to see the cut balanced across both formats. This was absolutely not true. Where were all the e-readers going? Articles online had headlines like, "People no longer enjoying reading ebooks, it seems." Really? There was another new phenomenon with Blue Lily, Lily Blue, too. Say that 5 times fast. One that started before it was published. Like many novels, it was available to early reviewers and booksellers in advanced forms. ARCs, advanced reader copies. Traditionally, these have been cheaply printed paperback versions of the book. Recently, e-ARCs have become common, available on locked sites from publishers. Uncle John's note, this is from almost 15 years ago. So yes, e-ARCs were a new thing. Back to Maggie. BLLB, Blue Lily, Lily Blues, ARC escaped the site, made it to the internet, and began circulating busily among fans long before the book had even hit the shelves. Piracy is a thing authors have been told to live with. It's not hurting you. It's like the mites in your pillow. And so I didn't think too hard about it until I got that royalty statement with BLLB's e-sales cut in half. Strange, I thought, particularly as it seemed on the internet and at my booming real-life book tours that interest in the Raven cycle in general was growing, not shrinking. Meanwhile, floating about in the forums and on Tumblr as a creator, it was not difficult to see fans sharing the PDFs of the books back and forth. For a while, I paid for a service that went through piracy sites and took down illegal PDFs. But it was pointless. There were too many. And as long as even one was left up, that was all that was needed for sharing. Here's where Maggie S. shows off her devious side and won me as a fan for life because I love a good devious, and this is good devious. I asked my publisher to make sure there were no e-ARCs available of Book 4, The Raven King, explaining that I felt piracy was a real issue with this series in a way it hadn't been for any of my others. They replied with the old adage that piracy didn't really do anything but yes, they'd make sure there were no e-ARCs if that made me happy. Then they told me that they were cutting the print run of The Raven King to less than half of the print run for Blue Lily, Lily Blue. No hard feelings, understand, they told me. It's just that the sales for Blue Lily didn't justify printing any more copies. The series was in decline. They were so proud of me. It had 19 starred reviews from pro journals and was the most starred YA series ever written, but that just didn't equal sales. They still loved me. This, my friends, is a real-world consequence. This is also where people usually step in and say, but that's not piracy's fault. You just said series naturally declined, and you just were a victim of bad marketing or bad covers, or readers just actually don't like you that much. Hold that thought. I was intent on proving that piracy had affected the Raven cycle, And so I began to work with one of my brothers on a plan. Insert Mr. Burns GIF here. It was impossible to take down every illegal PDF. I'd already seen that. So we were going to do the opposite. We created a PDF of The Raven King. It was the same length as the real book, but it was just the first 4 chapters over and over again. At the end, my brother wrote a small note about the ways piracy hurt your favorite books. I knew we wouldn't be able to hold the fort for long. Real versions would slowly get passed around by hand through forum messaging. But I told my brother, I want to hold the fort for 1 week. Enough to prove that point. Enough to show everyone that this is no longer 2004. This is the smartphone generation, and a pirated book sometimes is a lost sale. Then, on midnight of my book release, my brother put it up everywhere, on every pirate site. He uploaded dozens and dozens and dozens of these PDFs of The Raven King. You couldn't throw a rock without hitting one of his PDFs. We sailed those EPUB seas with our own flag, shredding the sky. Back to me. Now, some of you might say, well, didn't her publisher get pissed? Well, maybe, but the fact of the matter is that her publisher could not come after her for copyright infringement because she owns the copyright. Publishers own a license to distribute a copyrighted work, but real, legit publishers will never ask you to sign away your copyright. Keep that in mind. Not relevant to the rest of this story. Just keep that in mind. If anyone asks you to sign away your copyright, think, what would grumpy Uncle John do? Flip them the bird and walk away. You can swear at them too, because that definitely falls in the category of what I would do. Back to Maggie. The effects were instant. The forums and sites exploded with bewildered activity. Fans asked if anyone had managed to find a link to a legit PDF. Dozens of posts appeared saying that since they hadn't been able to find a PDF, they'd been forced to hit up Amazon and buy the book. And we sold out of the first printing in 2 days. 2 days. I was on tour for it, and the bookstores I went to didn't have enough copies to sell to people coming because online orders had emptied the warehouse. My publisher scrambled to print more and then print more again. Print sales and e-sales became once more evenly matched. Then the PDFs hit the forums and e-sales lagged, and it was business as usual, but it didn't matter. I'd proven the point. Piracy has consequences. Now that's the end of the story, but there's an epilogue. I'm now writing 3 more books set in that world. Books that I'm absolutely delighted to be able to write. They're an absolute blast. My publisher bought this trilogy because the numbers on the previous series supported them buying more books in that world. But the numbers almost didn't. Because even as I knew I had more readers than ever on paper, the Raven cycle was petering out. The Ronin trilogy nearly didn't exist because of piracy. And already I can see in the tags how Tumblr users are talking about how they intend to pirate book 1 of the new trilogy for any number of reasons, because I am terrible or because they would rather die than pay for a book. As an author, I can't stop that. But pirating book 1 means that publishing cancels book 2. This ain't 2004 anymore. A pirated copy isn't good advertising or great word of mouth or not really a lost sale. That's my long piracy story. So that was Maggie Stiefvater's story from 2012 or so, I think. And it really did change my personal outlook on piracy, because I had, before that point, felt that piracy was not a lost sale. And I do still believe that for many self-published authors and small press authors, obscurity is a greater enemy than piracy. Piracy is still an enemy. So if you believe that I don't deserve to be able to feed my family off of selling my books, feel free to look me up at a convention and tell me that to my face and see how that goes for you. No, I am not telling you that I will hit you. I will not. But I will most likely manage to embarrass you right there in front of everybody, because I am far less censored in person than I am on this channel. Yeah, this is the censored me. So Oceans of PDF has gone away. And yes, there will be some other piece of shit pirate site stepping up tomorrow to fill the void. And no, we can't do anything about that. But if you are one of these people today that has been mourning the loss of their access to free ebooks, feel free to get on the Google machine and check out your local friggin' library where you can rent ebooks. Go to Libby where you can rent ebooks and audiobooks. But don't sit here and tell me that you deserve to steal the fruits of months of my labor and years of other authors' labor. It's not just insulting, it's stupid. And I don't have time for stupid in my life. So if you miss Oceans of PDF, oh well, sucks for you. If you object in some way to the new world in which you don't necessarily own your digital content, buy ebooks direct from our site. If you buy an ebook on our Shopify site, you get the file. You own it. I cannot go onto your device and take that file back. If you buy a print book from us that was printed in 2025 or 2026, because I only started this last year, you get a QR code in the back of the book that lets you go get the ebook for free. So if you go on our Shopify and order any of the books that I've written, you'll get a signed copy that you can put behind you on your YouTube channel. And then you can get a boop boop QR code. That's the sound QR codes make, right? You can get a QR code for the free ebook. Again, only for books that were published starting in 2025. It took me a while to figure out the tech. I'm old. Piss off. So there are plenty of ways to get free ebooks. You can join a newsletter. You sign up for the Falstaff Books newsletter and you get like half a dozen free ebooks. You come see us at a convention, we give you a bookmark that has a free ebook sampler on it, and though that includes sample chapters from 20 or 30 different books that we publish, including the entire first Quincy Harker Demon Hunter novella, because the first taste is free. You can keep an eye out for Stuff Your Kindle Days. There are tons and tons of places to legally and legitimately get your hands on free ebooks. I get an email every single day from BookBub saying, here's today's free ebooks. Okay, I bought one today. I don't even remember what it was, but it happened to be the top of the email and it looked interesting. So, boop. There's so much free content out there that you can find plenty of stuff to read. And if it's not the exact thing you want to read at that exact moment, too damn bad. Grow up, sit down, and let the feeling pass. Act like a damn grown-up, says the guy who's sitting here griping about things on the internet. But that's what I got for my gripe for today. And it's getting late here in North Carolina, so we're coming up on dinner time. And Chunky Boy here don't miss meals. So if you've made it this far and you haven't subscribed, you should do that. If you have subscribed and you want to support the channel financially and you want to see your name on my purple wall like these cool people, you can become a member of the channel. You'll get my rantings a little bit early and you'll be helping support the channel. And then we have a Patreon. There's a bunch of links for stuff down below in the show notes. So check some of that stuff out. If you buy books that are linked down there, I get a little kickback. If you join our newsletter, you get some free stuff. You know, come see me at Dragon Con. Come hang out. And till next time, bye.